Hi, I'm Callie and welcome to Kapowski Reads. It's snowing, so let's read some hopefully great books, although I will read in any weather. Bex over at Bex Reads is running a Tackle Your TBR, and I always try and join in and I always fail. So I think I've done one. I'm doing it. I'm doing this one. The theme is pink or red on the cover. And no, I'm not going to wear a pink jumper in every update, although I might. But I only own one pink jumper, so it will be the same jumper if I do, but it will be clean. So I'm basically going to see how many pink and red on the cover books I can get through before I need to get this video up and ready. I am currently halfway through 2 books. So at the very least, I'm going to be talking about Snake Oil, which is my audiobook, and The Wardrobe Project, which is my non-fiction physical book. I'm, halfway through. And my experience with both of them is a little different in that I am adoring this book. It is basically about how the author went a year without buying any clothes and kind of learned a whole lot about herself, not just her spending habits, but about how she looks at her own self, sense of style, her body, and how she kind of grew to love herself. And I'm just really enjoying it. Snake Oil audiobook, on the other hand, I'm waiting for it to start because I know it's going to start. And when it does, I'm going to really like it. It is a 3-perspective story. We have a sort of boss babe, we have one of her workers, and we have somebody who has been fired because she was, well, basically tweeting work secrets, and she got caught and she got fired. And they all work at this very, very bougie wellness brand. And it's okay so far, but like I say, I'm waiting for it to start because I think when it does, things are going to happen. I'm just getting to the exciting part. I will link Bec's channel in the description and I will come back to you when I have updates. For now, my life is just work, snow, books. That's pretty much it. I look as tired as I feel. Just let that be known. I have finished a book though. I have been loving our snowy weather. And I have basically just been enjoying having some audiobook, charming, snowy walks, which has been great fun for me. I've now finished reading Snake Oil by Kelsey Ray Dimberg. This was on my winter TBR, so tick for me. There is the tiniest bit of red on the front cover, and I'm taking it. I think the US cover has a lot more red on it, but the UK cover just has like teeny bit. But who's going to stop me? This focuses on the goings on in and around a very glossy and popular wellness company called Radical. It's told through 3 different perspectives. We have the founder, her name is Rhoda. She's like a proper boss babe. There is Danny, who works for Radical, and she has just found herself catapulted up the hierarchy in the company and is now getting to see a little bit more of what is really happening there. And we have Cecilia, who by day works in what is referred to as customer worship by day, basically customer services. I was getting like proper flashbacks to when I used to work in customer services. I was like, oh, I don't want to relive those days. But by night, she is an anonymous Twitter whistleblower. I find this to really be a book of 2 halves. The first half was really slow to get started. I found my interest kind of wavering. There were a few moments where I thought, should I just DNF this? I wasn't really into it. I didn't dislike it, but I didn't like it. It was a bit of a, well, that's a book. And I always want my book to be a bit more than just, that's a book. But the second half it was explosive, and I was clawed back in, and I was genuinely really interested to find out what was going to happen next. I am a sucker for a millennial girl boss story, so this did kind of meet that interest of mine. And I did enjoy the multiple POVs. However, initially I did find it really difficult to distinguish between Danny and Cecilia. I kept having to just double check which person it was. They were just so similar, and they had the same voice, not just with the narrator because it was an audiobook, but their dialogue was the same. They had the same cadence, so they just didn't feel distinct until much later in the book, when it was much clearer which person we were with. This was a fun book. It was fun and it was exciting, but I did feel it was a bit too long, and that's mainly due to how long it took for the book to really get going. I don't know, I just felt I needed a lot less of a build up, and I felt myself just almost impatiently waiting for the book to start. Honestly, I feel like this book really made me want to reread Glossy, which I know is a non-fiction book, but it's a really fun non-fiction book about a boss babe company, and it's much less dramatic. It's non-fiction, so there's not the same antics happening in that book, but I want to go read that soon. Get my girl boss fix a bit more. I will be back when I have more updates. I've only read one book so far that meets my red and pink cover criteria, and I'm also exhausted, as evidenced by this. So I'll be back in a bit, hopefully a little bit more rested. Maybe in daylight. There might be daylight. It's 4 p.m. There's no daylight here. I have finished another book, and it's another one from my TBR, and it is actually more read than the previous one. The Wardrobe Project by Emma Edwards. It is so nice to get a 5-star non-fiction read so early in the year. I don't really rate non-fiction unless it is a 1 or a 5-star in most cases, just because how can you rate non-fiction? Generally, I find it really difficult if I don't flat out love it or hate its very existence. This book is about the author Emma Edwards, who basically didn't buy any new clothes or any clothes at all for a year. It's kind of part diary but also part learning experiences, tips, and it's not just from her perspective. She had a few other people that were doing the same kind of, well, I was going to say challenge. I'm going to call it a project because that's what it's called. And you got to hear a bunch of different voices throughout the book. I pre-ordered this. It came late, as all of my pre-orders do. Didn't show up till December, by which point I just didn't have time to read it. But it came out in November. And the reason I pre-ordered it was just because I had done a low spend year in 2024. I didn't buy any new clothes that year. But in reading this book, I do realise something that I had considered myself at the time. I was way too strict on myself. Way too strict. Lest we forget about the death of my sweatpants. They weren't even mine. They were my boyfriend's sweatpants that I commandeered, and they were about 10 years old. They fell apart, and I was like, I can't buy a replacement, and I had to be very uncomfortable working from home without loungewear. And I am actually doing another kind of low spend year. This year, a low spend light, I suppose. At low spend zero, whatever the sugar-free drinks are called. Basically, my plan for this year is to just use things I have, but not be miserable about it. Such a basic goal, but that's pretty much it for me. I just want to kind of still enjoy my life while freeing up some space, and money is always nice. So this book just really appealed to me in that it talked about something I have done and something that I'd already planned to do. So it's kind of like a little companion. I found it to be really super helpful, but it wasn't just plain fact, fact, fact. It had a lot of heart to it, and I found myself getting a wee bit teary. I mean, I am an emotional beast, but it was quite emotional at times too, because she is looking not just at her wardrobe, but at herself and the way that she sees herself and her body and her lifestyle. And there was a lot of sort of learning throughout the year for her. I actually kind of got big sister or older cousin or friend's cool sister vibes from this book. Even though I am older than the author is, I kind of got the vibe of, you know, this is somebody who's got their life together. And I always really like that. It's nice to have something to aspire to. And I do think I probably do have my life mostly together, but I do also feel constantly frazzled. It kind of just felt like a little bit of a handhold through a challenge. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed the book. Look how many tabs. I always say I don't tab books, and here I am once again. Look how many tabs there are. Can you even see that? Each bit that I tabbed was either a useful nugget that I can apply to my own life, or a moment where I just felt kind of seen by a book, which is always a delight. I also read Good with Money by this author last year. It was one of my favourites for 2025. And that book really helped me to, being dramatic, I suppose, revolutionise my own budget, because it made space for fun. Crazy concept, I know. But that definitely helped, and it was something I hadn't actually considered. I hadn't considered that maybe I get to have fun while also reaching like my own savings goals. I would say that if you are interested even just a little bit about making the most of your own existing wardrobe and getting to know your personal style and like your wardrobe needs and requirements, then you might like this. It's a fun read. I really enjoyed it. The writing is very accessible. It's not, you know, full of terminology or jargon. It's very like chatting to a friend. I really loved it. I have one last book to include in this video. I didn't think I was going to get this book finished, but here I am. I have an ebook, Lured by Dusk by Angela J. Ford. This is a book that I had planned to include in Winterween, but I realised kind of early on, I did not remember what the book was about properly. I convinced myself that it was a horror or like paranormal, and it was not really. So I pushed it back and I thought I would include it now because there is red on the cover. Our main character is wearing a gorgeous red dress. It counts. And definitely more red than Snake Oil had. We have a main character who has been orphaned and sent to live with her tyrannical uncle, who's a lord. And he's not a very nice man. He's very abusive and horrible. We don't like him. And she is wanting to escape. And like, she's not prisoner, but she has no money and no resources. And she wants to get back to her hometown and just escape her uncle. Her name is Tanith, and she decides to rob a crypt of well, as far as she knows, a demon. What she ends up doing is waking up this demon, and he's like, well, as punishment, I'm going to take you as my bride. And she ends up marrying this demon called Oren, and he's not really a demon, but she doesn't know this until a little bit later on. And they have a little bit of a romance, and it turns out that the Lord, who we knew was a bad guy, has been doing some really bad things. And Oren wants to basically save his people and free them. That's basically it. This book was described as being a cross between Dracula meets the Pied Piper. So you can see why I was expecting vampires, right? There are no vampires in this book. None. Not a single one. Like, Oren's teeth are a little bit pointy, but he's not a vampire. We find out what he is. Not a vampire. And by Pied Piper, he is referred to as being a Pied Piper. He has a little pipe. but I would say that that is a very big stretch to say that it is a combination of those two. I liked this book, and I would say until maybe 70% of the way through the book, this was going to be a 4-star for me. But then the romance hit. The romance kind of took over the plot, and I was left being like, wait, this really exciting thing is going to happen. There's a dungeon. There's people we want to free. There's okay, so you're just going to smooch a bit more and make some goo-goo eyes. I felt like my attention just got like pulled through the first, 70%. And I was like, yes, I am in. And then I was like, oh, can we not kiss and do like cool stuff at the same time? Sorry, my camera's really struggling to focus on my face today. There's no light. There's none. It's been raining for days. We're doing the best we can. And then there is like a build up to like a big event, but that huge like battle is over so quickly. And I felt like the really exciting parts of the book were just like sped through. And I wanted more of the fantasy because I was really quite invested in it. The last 3 chapters of this book, not for me. In fact, the entire last chapter is what made me drop the rating down to 3. And I'm sort of wondering if 2.5 is too harsh, because I really did not like the direction the book went into. It definitely took an angle that made me question the whole genre of the book. I've moved slightly further towards the window in the hope that the camera, I don't know if this is getting picked up, but for me in the monitor, the camera keeps just going whoop, whoop. So hopefully that's not too annoying. This is part of a collection, but I wouldn't say that you have to read books 1 and 2 first, because it's all new characters. I believe there are some references to characters in earlier books, but they don't even appear. You don't see them. You just hear them of like, oh, that's so-and-so's house. That's it. or they think I did this, but that was, Kevin. That's not his name. But you can just pick this up and jump right in. I didn't feel like I needed any previous information. So I had a fine enough time. I liked the romance between the characters. There was tension building. There was yearning, and there was chemistry. Like, I bought it. I felt like they liked each other. There was some spice, which good for them. But mainly, my favourite part of the book was Pip, who was a gargoyle, who basically came to life to be like her pet, Tanith's pet. He was this cute little bloop, bloop, bloop. And he would start the fire for her because they lived in a castle. And he was just adorable and I loved him. I want to know more about him. With the ending that happened in this book, I am concerned for Pip. What's happened to Pip? Are the gargoyles okay? I have questions. It was a good enough read. I would read the other books though. I definitely would pick them up. If, I wouldn't search them out, but if I found them without looking, I would read them, if that makes sense. Like, I wouldn't go out of my way to track them down, but I wouldn't say no. I think this was I had a fun time, and that's kind of all I can ask for, is to at least be entertained. So yeah, I gave this a 3-star, and I'm currently filming this right at the end of sort of my window for filming. Today is Friday, and this book is going to be going up, vlog is going to be going up on Sunday. So I do not have time to fit another book in because I'm a busy little bee tomorrow. I'm just going to finish the vlog right now. Thank you, Bex, for organising this. It was really, really fun. I liked being able to go through and pick some of my red covers that I needed to read. Thank you for watching. Bye!